Have you ever had one of those mornings like you're rushing out the door, already running a little late, and you just drop your keys?
Oh yeah, classic.
Right. And in the grand scheme of things, it's a minor inconvenience. It's maybe a 3-second delay.
Barely even a blip on the radar.
Exactly. But then you bend down to pick them up, and as you stand back up, you fiercely stub your toe on the door frame.
Oh, that is the worst.
And suddenly, out of nowhere, you are absolutely screaming at an inanimate piece of wood. Like you genuinely feel in that exact moment as if the doorframe has a personal, highly calculated vendetta against you.
It did it on purpose.
It totally did. Your heart is pounding, your face is hot, and this tiny, completely random inconvenience just instantly compounds into pure, irrational rage.
You feel like the universe is actively conspiring to just ruin your entire day.
Yes, it's a feeling that just completely hijacks your morning.
Welcome to The Psychology of Gambling, the podcast from Mind Over Odds, where we believe if you control your emotions, you control your outcomes.
We really do.
And that universal feeling of spiraling emotional frustration you just described, that sense that the world is suddenly out to get you, well, in the gambling and trading worlds, that is known as tilt.
Tilt. It's such a heavy word.
It really is. And today's deep dive is titled Tilt, the emotional state that destroys good decisions.
Which is incredibly accurate.
Our goal today is to really unpack what tilt actually is. Why our biology betrays us in these crucial moments, and most importantly, how we can implement small, everyday habits to just wrest control back from our own nervous system.
I think everyone listening has felt that spiral at some point, right? Whether it's in heavy traffic, at the poker table, or, looking at a crypto portfolio that's tanking.
Oh, definitely. It's a universal human experience.
But I want to start with the word itself, tilt, because it sounds very mechanical, like a machine breaking down or something.
Well, it is mechanical, actually. The term originated back in the 1930s with pinball machines.
Wait, literal pinball machines.
Literal pinball machines. When players would get frustrated that the ball wasn't bouncing the way they wanted, they would physically grab the machine, shake it, and try to lift it to,
Right.
manipulate the trajectory.
Oh, right, to cheat the physics a little bit.
Exactly. But the manufacturers caught on and built motion sensors inside the cabinets. If you shook the machine too aggressively, it would completely lock up.
Just a dead machine.
Right. The flippers would die, the bumpers would freeze, and the word tilt would flash in bright lights on the display. It was a total mandatory system shutdown because the machine was pushed way beyond its operating limits.
So the player pushes the system too hard, and the system just throws its hands up and locks them out entirely.
That's the core of it. Over the decades, the term migrated into poker, financial trading, competitive gaming, you name it.
Makes sense.
But in those arenas, tilt isn't just playing poorly because you're tired or distracted. It is a complete emotional override.
What if your brain short circuits?
Yes. Your rational, proven strategy is thrown entirely out the window. It's a mental state where your brain essentially flashes tilt and just locks your logic right out of the control room.
Okay, let me push back on that a bit, though, because I'm trying to separate this from just being, a sore loser.
Fair point.
Like, if I sit down at a table and lose $100, I'm going to be annoyed. Nobody likes losing money. What makes this tilt state qualitatively different from just standard run-of-the-mill frustration?
That is the dividing line right there. What makes tilt a completely different beast from standard frustration is the presence of moral anger.
Moral anger.
Yeah, it's not just, oh man, I made a mistake, that's really frustrating. Tilt almost always takes the form of what we call injustice tilt or entitlement tilt.
Entitlement tilt. So feeling like you were somehow owed the win.
Exactly. And this happens to the most disciplined people too. Imagine you've studied the markets for hours, you've done all the technical analysis.
And put in the work.
Right. Or you've played a hand of poker perfectly according to the mathematical odds. You feel you deserve to win because you were the more skilled player.
Yeah, you did everything right.
But then a much less skilled opponent makes a terrible decision and gets saved by pure luck on the final card. Or the market takes a completely irrational, unpredictable swing based on, like, a random news tweet.
Oh, man, I can feel my blood pressure rising just hearing that scenario.
It's infuriating, right?
It really is. I remember playing a hand once, calculating the pot odds perfectly, doing everything strictly by the book, and someone who barely even knew the rules beat me on a miraculous river card.
Yep, the classic bad beat.
And I didn't just feel unlucky in that moment. I felt robbed, like an actual crime had been committed against me.
And that exact feeling of being robbed is the absolute hallmark of tilt.
Hmm.
Your brain really struggles to process the cognitive dissonance of doing everything perfectly right and still getting punished for it.
Because it doesn't make logical sense.
It doesn't.
Hmm.
So instead of looking at the objective data and accepting that, statistical variance is just a part of the game, your brain creates a narrative. It stops doing math and starts telling a story.
A story where I'm the victim.
Precisely. You start to feel personally targeted. You tell yourself you are cursed, or that the dealer is out to get you, or the market makers are actively hunting your specific stop loss.
Wow. Yeah, I've definitely had those paranoid thoughts.
We all have. Because you felt entitled to the outcome, the loss feels like a theft of your rightful property. To protect your ego from the harsh reality that we just don't control the universe, your mind externalizes the blame.
It's much easier for the human ego to say the universe is rigged than to accept that bad luck happens to good strategies.
Exactly. You turn cold, hard data into a deeply personal, targeted narrative.
But wait, if our brain is doing these massive narrative gymnastics just to protect our ego, why can't we just catch ourselves in the act?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're adults. We know we're getting mad. Why can't a smart, disciplined professional just take a deep breath, logically assess the situation, and think their way out of it?
Because your biology literally will not allow you to.
Seriously.
Seriously. When you cross the threshold into tilt, you cannot just calm down because of a biological mechanism known as the amygdala hijack.
Okay, the amygdala hijack. Walk us through the mechanics of that under the hood.
So we basically have an evolutionary mismatch happening in our heads. The amygdala is the emotional threat detection center of your brain.
Like the alarm system.
Right. It evolved hundreds of thousands of years ago to keep us alive in the wild. Its only job is to spot physical predators and react instantly to keep you safe.
Makes sense.
Now, right behind your forehead is your prefrontal cortex. That's your rational, thinking brain. It's the modern hardware that handles logic, long-term strategy, probability, and, most importantly, impulse control.
The exact part of the brain that we desperately want driving the car when real money is on the line.
Always. You want that guy in charge. But here is the flaw in the system. When you experience that highly frustrating, unfair loss we just talked about, your amygdala doesn't know the difference between a bad poker beat and a literal physical predator.
Wait, really? It can't tell the difference.
Not at all. It perceives that sudden loss of status or resources as an actual physical threat to your survival.
Wow. So dropping a significant chunk of change on a bad trade sends the exact same alarm signal to the brain as a tiger jumping out of the bushes.
It's processed on the exact same neural pathway. And the threat detection center processes sensory information milliseconds faster than your thinking brain.
So it beats the logic to the punch.
Yes. Before your rational prefrontal cortex can even evaluate what just happened and say, hey, calm down, it's just statistical variance, the emotional brain has already slammed the panic button.
The tiger alarm is ringing?
And it floods your bloodstream with stress chemicals, cortisol and adrenaline. And those chemicals literally force the rational brain to power down. They route the blood flow and electrical activity away from your logic centers and straight into your fight or flight response.
Okay, so it's like a building where someone pulls the fire alarm, and the security system automatically locks the rational manager out of the office.
That is a perfect analogy.
The manager is banging on the glass, going, hey, let me in, I know how to fix this. But they can't get back in. You're just left with pure instinctual panic running the show.
And while that panic is running the show, you start making catastrophic choices. You completely abandon your risk management, you over-leverage your accounts, you aggressively chase losses to try and win back what was stolen from you.
Because you're in survival mode.
Exactly. You are operating entirely on survival instinct, which is a terrible way to manage financial risk. And this leads to a vicious secondary spiral, which is known as the tilt of tilt.
Tilting because you're tilting.
Yes. Because even though your rational manager is locked out of the office, you still have some dim background awareness that you are behaving foolishly.
Oh, yeah. Like watching yourself make a mistake in slow motion.
Right. You realize your emotional control is slipping, and that realization frustrates you even more. You become intensely angry at yourself for being angry.
That sounds like a nightmare loop.
It is. This secondary frustration dumps even more cortisol and adrenaline into your body, adding massive amounts of fuel to a fire that is already completely out of control.
That sounds absolutely exhausting for the nervous system, but it raises a question for me.
Sure, go ahead.
Why do I handle a bad beat perfectly fine on a Tuesday, but the exact same bad beat on a Thursday sends me into a complete tailspin?
That brings us to the fuel tank concept. You see, you don't walk into a game or sit down at a trading desk as a blank slate. You carry the friction of your everyday life right in there with you.
Like baggage.
Exactly. Your emotional resilience is a finite resource, much like a fuel tank. If you had a terrible night of sleep, or you skip lunch and your blood sugar is low, or you just had a really tense argument with your partner before logging on, your resilience tank is already hovering near empty.
So the threshold for triggering that fire alarm is significantly lower.
Immensely lower. If your tank is full, you could absorb a bad loss, process it logically, and move on. If your tank is empty, a minor setback that you could normally brush off becomes the ultimate catalyst for a massive amygdala hijack.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes complete biological sense that losing resources or feeling threatened triggers this defensive panic mode. But let's look at the flip side of this for a second.
Okay?
What if there is no threat? What if I'm having the best session of my entire life? Can the brain be hijacked by positive emotions too?
It absolutely can. And honestly, it is one of the most dangerous traps out there because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels amazing. We call this winner's tilt.
Winner's tilt. Okay, if I'm winning, my strategy is working, and I feel confident, how is that a problem? Isn't feeling confident the reward for doing the hard work?
Well, confidence is necessary, sure,
Yeah.
but excessive confidence creates an illusion of invincibility. Winner's tilt is a non-distressing hijack. It usually happens when you hit a major hot streak or you win an unexpectedly large, life-changing amount of money very quickly.
You get that massive rush of dopamine. You feel like the smartest person in the room.
Right. And that intense surge of dopamine and euphoria can overwhelm the prefrontal cortex just as effectively as a flood of cortisol. When you feel invincible, you just stop evaluating risk.
Because why would you? You're winning.
Exactly. The logic center shuts down because the brain is so intoxicated by the reward chemicals. You start making decisions based on careful probabilities and objective data, and you start reacting purely to the high of the game.
I've definitely seen this happen. You hit a hot streak, the dopamine floods in, and suddenly you think you can see the matrix.
Yep, you think you're a genius.
You start playing hands you would normally fold in a heartbeat. Or you double your bet size on a weird hunch just because you feel lucky.
You abandon your discipline entirely, and that's the danger. Just like angry tilt, winner's tilt represents the complete absence of a strategy.
The rational manager is locked out again.
Exactly. Your rational manager is still locked out of the office. It's just that the panic has been replaced by a wild, reckless party. You don't even realize you are off the rails until the hot streak inevitably ends, reality sets in, and you've given all your profits right back.
We're basically blinded by the high. And when you're blinded by either anger or euphoria, you make reckless decisions, which is a really dangerous place to be. Speaking of losing control, let's take a quick second. If you or someone you know struggles with compulsive or problem gambling, free help is available 24 hours a day by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's an incredibly important resource because whether you are drowning in cortisol or riding a massive wave of dopamine, once that emotional wave crests, it is incredibly difficult to paddle back to the shore on sheer willpower alone.
So, if we are at the mercy of these chemicals, and we know we can't just outthink the brain's fire alarm once it's already ringing, how do we actually defend ourselves? How do we get the steering wheel back? We must need some sort of preventative habits.
We do. Since the biological reaction is always going to be milliseconds faster than our conscious thought, our defenses have to be proactive and physical.
Physical?
Yes. The single best immediate tool you have is what we call a physical reset.
Okay, what does a physical reset actually look like in practice?
It means physically breaking the visual loop. When you are staring at a screen watching a crypto chart plummet or staring intensely across a poker table after a bad beat, your visual field is locked onto the exact source of the threat.
You're just staring right at the tiger.
Right. The sensory input is actively feeding the amygdala. You have to physically break that connection.
Or you just stand up and walk away.
You stand up, walk into another room, splash cold water on your face, or look out a window at something far away.
Just to disrupt the signal.
Exactly. Your body is highly communicative. It will actually give you physical warning signs before the hijack reaches the point of no return.
Like what?
You might feel your jaw clench, your shoulders tighten, your ears get hot, or your breathing become very shallow.
Yeah.
The second you recognize those physical symptoms, you step away.
So by walking away, you're literally cutting off the data feed that's keeping the emotional brain in overdrive. That's step one. What's step two?
Step two is active labeling. This sounds almost too simple to be effective, but the neurology behind it is profound. It involves simply naming the specific emotion you're feeling out loud.
So instead of just muttering, I'm so mad, I need to be more specific, like saying, I feel incredibly indignant right now.
Yes, or I feel targeted, or I feel humiliated.
So does that actually work? It feels a little silly.
It does work, and the reason is strictly biological. When you're in the middle of a hijack, all the energy is concentrated in the emotional center of the brain. When you force yourself to articulate a complex emotion into language, you are physically forcing the brain to route blood flow and electrical activity back to the prefrontal cortex.
Oh, because that's where the language centers are.
Precisely. By bringing the emotion into conscious vocabulary, you are actively wresting control away from the amygdala.
That is fascinating. You are literally jump-starting the rational manager's computer just by using precise vocabulary.
You are. You are turning the lights back on in the prefrontal cortex, and once you've done that, the rational brain is back online, and you can move to the third tool, cognitive reappraisal.
Cognitive reappraisal.
Yes, this is where you actively reframe the event.
Okay, walk me through how to reframe a devastating loss. Because, I mean, in the moment, it doesn't feel like a fun opportunity for growth. It just feels like a terrible loss.
Naturally. But instead of dwelling on the bad beat and letting that injustice narrative take root, you consciously zoom out. You ask yourself, what is the structural reality of this game?
What do you mean by structural reality?
You have to reframe the bad luck as a necessary part of the ecosystem. Think about it. If weaker, less skilled players never won occasionally through sheer dumb luck, they would get bored very quickly.
They'd realize they're just ATMs for the pros.
Exactly. They would realize they are outmatched and they would stop playing against you.
Oh, wow. So you actually need variance. You need those unfair, lucky moments to happen to the weaker players. Otherwise, the ecosystem completely collapses and there's no game to play in the long run.
Spot on. If the best player won 100% of the time, the game would die instantly. Nobody would ever sit down at the table or take the other side of your trade.
Because there'd be no hope.
Right. Reframing variance as the literal tax you pay to keep the game alive helps your brain accept the loss as a structural necessity rather than a personal attack.
That is a massive perspective shift. But what about the times when the emotion is just too strong? What if the cortisol is pumping so hard that walking away, active labeling, and reframing just aren't cutting it?
For those moments, you absolutely must rely on hard circuit breakers.
Rules that you literally cannot break under any circumstances.
Rules you set in stone. You must set a hard, non-negotiable daily loss limit before you ever sit down to play, trade, or game.
Before you even start.
Yes. You decide in a calm state, if my account drops by X amount, or if I lose 2 buy-ins, I am walking away for the next 24 hours. No exceptions, no chasing.
Just a hard stop.
You have to set these parameters when your cognitive state is cold, because they act as an automatic fail-safe for when your cognitive state runs hot.
It's the exact same logic as using a designated driver. You hand over your car keys before you have your first drink because you know for a fact that your future intoxicated self will not be capable of making a safe decision.
That is exactly it.
You are essentially protecting yourself from your future tilted self.
You are outsourcing your discipline to a rule you made when you were completely sober-minded. And to make those rules truly effective, you need to spend some time building a tilt profile away from the action.
A tilt profile. So if I'm trying to set up a defense, I assume I can't just rely on willpower in the moment. Do I need to audit my past mistakes to figure out my specific triggers?
That is exactly what a tilt profile is. It's a brutal, honest self-audit. After a session where you lost control and went on tilt, you sit down with a notebook and write out the autopsy.
So you really dig into the details.
Everything. What was the specific trigger? Was it a particular type of opponent? Was it a certain market condition? What were the physical warning signs your body gave you 10 minutes before you completely lost it?
Like the clenched jaw or the hot ears.
Yes. And what was the internal narrative you started telling yourself? The better you map out your personal tilt profile, the faster you can recognize the early warning signs in the future. You learn to spot the dominoes falling before they reach the end of the line.
It takes it from this really abstract idea of, oh, I just need to try harder to not get mad, to actually mapping out your own biological tripwires and having a concrete plan to short-circuit them.
Preparation is everything. And we pull back and look at the bigger picture here for a second. This raises a crucial point. The biology of tilt applies to absolutely everything we do. It is not confined to the casino or the trading floor.
You see this bleeding into daily life.
All the time.
Yeah.
Think about your daily routine. Do you ever go on tilt during an argument with your partner where the original topic is completely forgotten and you suddenly lose all logic and just want to win the fight at all costs?
Oh, absolutely. The rational manager leaves the building completely.
Or do you go on tilt in heavy traffic, someone cuts you off, and suddenly you're gripping the steering wheel, your heart is hammering against your ribs, and you're making aggressive, reckless driving maneuvers to try and, get back at a total stranger?
I've definitely been there.
That is an amygdala hijack. That is traffic tilt. Recognizing this biological reality in your everyday life, noticing your jaw clench in traffic or your breathing get shallow during a tough meeting at work, is the very first step to mastering it everywhere.
So you can practice these tools anywhere.
Exactly. You can practice active labeling and physical resets right in your kitchen or in your car.
And I guess if we can master our biology in those mundane moments, we build the muscle memory, so we're basically bulletproof when the financial stakes are high.
And that leads to one final thought to leave you with today.
Yeah.
We've talked entirely about our own internal biology today. But consider the social aspect of this. Tilt is highly contagious.
Contagious, like a cold.
Think about mirror neurons. If you are sitting at a table or working in an office and the person next to you goes on massive tilt, slamming the desk, complaining about how rigged everything is, radiating stress, your brain detects their threat signals.
Oh.
Your own amygdala starts to prime itself for danger just by being in their proximity. So the question to ask yourself tomorrow is, are you catching tilt like a virus for the people around you? And more importantly, are you the one spreading it?
If you found this conversation helpful today, please follow and like the show or leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people in our community find these resources. You can also visit the Mind Over Odds YouTube channel for more psychology-based insights on gambling behavior. We'll talk to you next time. Control your emotions. Control your outcomes.